Hey, you want to hear the new theme song?
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, that's kind of cool. Welcome to Locked On A's. This is the podcast we talk about your Oakland A's and eventually Sacramento A's and maybe Las Vegas A's. Who knows at this point? All season long. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network where it's your team every day. I am your pinch hitting host. Once again, my name is Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I normally host the Locked On MLB podcast, but with no permanent A's host in right now, I said, you know what? Give me a bat. Give me a bat. Give me some pine tar. I'm still doing Locked On MLB, but I'm also doing these. Well, who knows? But I may be the Sacramento of this podcast. In other words, I may be here a lot longer than you expect. Follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully, but Sully Baseball on Twitter. Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. We're recording this on the afternoon of the 17th of April, 2024. And it was a good day for the A's. A good, solid victory, salvaging a game of the series against St. Louis. You know, it's funny that this is a year, and we're going to talk about this a bunch in segment 2 and hint at segment 3. This is a year where it's not so much about the wins and the losses as it is trying to at least have a few moments or two of celebration, to have this team, to celebrate them and go to the ballpark and see friends for the last time. But it doesn't hurt to hear celebration by Kool and the gang. Go to the games, even if there's only just a handful of people there, is a lot more fun when they're winning. Now, I've been mentioning ad nauseum that you're better off supporting this team, not supporting Fisher, but supporting the memories of going to an A's game. 9,000 people were there today on a Wednesday afternoon for a lame duck team. Is that good? Of course not. But I bet you anything those 9,000 people had a terrific time. The game on Tuesday, by the way, I didn't get to show up yesterday. Forgive me. I knew I was going to be doing this one covering the afternoon game. It was a tough pill to swallow because McCann hit a great home run and he did everything he could. The pitching wasn't bad. It's just, other than McCann, the rest of the A's were a McCant, and the offense was dead. But today was a good day. First of all, Blackburn, who finally let up a run, but Blackburn was once again excellent. You know, he pitched in the 6th inning. He did let up the 3 runs. Yes, he did let up too many hits. He did walk too many batters. Got the victory. He struck out 7 in 5 2/3 innings. And then the bullpen did the job. McFarland stranded 2 runners in the 6th. Adams threw a scoreless inning. And the rest of the bullpen was great. And, of course, Mason Miller, who is making an early pitch to be an all-star, struck out 2 and was throwing gas. And, oh, boy, Esteury Ruiz. I guess he's wearing the right armbands now. I guess he's not going to the last dive bar anymore because he hit another home run. He continues to, it's his 2nd home run of the year. He scored twice. He drove in 2. His average is 357. If you like average, you like OPS, it's 1.33. Any way you slice it, Ruiz has been terrific. And they got, and I know I got whiplash. Look at the fact that they actually scored insurance runs. Toro drove in a run. Langeliers drove in a run. Nace drove in a run. The Ruiz hit the home run and stole a base. It was an all-around solid effort up and down from the Oakland A's. Up and down, they did their job. And the Cardinals, yes, the Cardinals took 2 out of 3, so they didn't go to a 4th straight series that they've won, but they held their own. They weren't blown out, and they're 8-11. They're 8-11 right now. Now, of course, that's not a great record by any stretch of the imagination, but they're in the American League West, which no team is running away with right now. And look, I'm not foolish enough to think that the A's are going to win a division or even be a playoff team. But what I like what they're doing is they are not being a punching bag. I like the fact that they have, if any team in baseball history has had the right to just have someone punch them in the face, they know they're going to be small crowds. They know that they're going to leave. They know that their budget for the Oakland A's is just slightly higher than the budget for the Locked On Podcast Network. They know that there's no chance of anything positive happening. So the best thing they can do is show up and not be a punching bag. Lest we forget, the Astros are 2.5 games behind the A's right now, as of this recording. Think of your life. You could be a White Sox fan right now. The White Sox have lost 15 of their first 18 games. If you had told me, especially after those first 2 series where the only win that the A's got was on that bases loaded walk, if you said, the A's at one point are going to lose 15 of the first 18 games, I would have said, yeah, that tracks. They're 8-11. Not great, but not a punching bag. Now they are going to be going into a gauntlet, and an 8-11 start may very well be the apex, the Everest for this team, as they're going to be playing Cleveland. And lest we forget, Cleveland just got shut out by Boston this afternoon, but Cleveland is 12-6. They've been off to a terrific start. Their run differential right now is 36, which is the second best in the American League. The best is currently owned by the Kansas City Royals. But they're going to be going to play 3 in Cleveland. They're going to be playing 4 in New York. Then they're going to Baltimore, and then they come back home to play Pittsburgh. That is a gauntlet. And if there is any point in this season where you think, oh boy, this may get ugly in an awful hurry, you know what? It might be this. But at the same time, remember how strong Detroit was? Remember how strong Detroit was when they started the season? And the A's wound up taking 2 out of 3. Remember that the Rangers were defending World Series champs, and they took 2 out of 3. Do you know what? Every team is circling the A's and saying, you know what? They stink. They're bad. That's an easy win. And then you look up and you say, wait a second. Blackburn's pitching well. They've got a lights-out bullpen right now. Ruiz is hitting well. Geloff gets on base. Langoliers gets some big home runs. Butler seems to know where when to get a big hit here and there. And when you take a look at their batting average, they all looked awful. But I think a lot of that comes from the dreadful start that they got. It is not going to be a normal year. I know that. You know that. It's not going to be a normal year of cheering on. But don't be a punching bag. And so far they haven't. And face it, it's been kind of fun. With all the awfulness that's been going on at the beginning of the year, in fact, they've won some of these games. Walk off here, 6-3 win today. They doubled up St. Lou. You know St. Lou came in here thinking it was going to be a sweep, the same way those other teams thought it was going to be easy wins. So let's make teams walk away going, what the hell just happened? It's the least you can do. And watch the games, because you got a bunch of games already like the one we had today, which was a lot of fun. Don't miss it out. Don't miss out. So when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the responses that I've got from some of the shows that we've done, and respond to some listener and viewer questions. Let's talk about our friends over at PrizePicks. Are you aware of what PrizePicks is? PrizePicks is the number one fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Spring training, that's past us. We're now almost a full month into the season. And You don't want to miss on your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more than or less than and add them up for your PrizePicks entry today. Or if you're more of a basketball person, the Warriors are out, Kings are moving on. Depends on where you are in Northern California. You might be happy or unhappy about that. You get on the playoff action more than 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level on the basketball postseason. PrizePicks is the best way to get on the action sports more than 30 states across the country, including Texas, including Georgia, and right here in California. You got quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and enormous selection of players and stat types that makes PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. And PrizePicks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of $100. Once again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's PrizePicks. That is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Hey, I've been told I have somewhat of a competitive side. Now, is that true? Is that true? It very well might be. All right, fine. I'm competitive. When I'm wrong, I admit when I'm wrong, but I don't like being wrong. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. And it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. And the best part is I love to mess with my friends because that's the kind of guy I am. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties just like classic Monopoly, but now I can heist their vaults of riches for myself. It's like Ocean's 11, but Monopoly. And the leaders show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people from all around the world in time tournaments and earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free at the App Store or on Google Play. Hey, if you are listening to this on the 17th of April, 2024, let me tell you something. There's a great thing you can watch, and it's archived as well. It's the Locked On NFL Mock Draft. It's available now. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On NFL Draft to hear the local Locked On experts who are picking every NFL franchise with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL Mock Draft is available now on the Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I've been now doing this my second week of pinch hitting here on Locked On A's. I've been having a lot of fun. Hopefully you've been enjoying my presence on here. I've got a bunch of people who have responded to some of the things that I've talked about. And I have to say, for the most part, most of you have been pretty friendly and pretty receptive to me being here. Z Corp Alpha 2462 says they should be called the homeless A's. It's kind of what they are. Beto _820. Again, I don't know what any of these names mean. Hopefully, I'm not saying anything untoward. Beto _820 agrees with me. Says A's fans should definitely take this last opportunity to see their team. You'll miss this team once they're gone. Take it from a Raiders fan who hasn't seen them play in person since the Oakland Raiders days. But hey, at least I had one more chance to see them in their last season, and it was like a dream. Yeah. Put your anger aside. There's no way you're going to get back at Fisher. So don't deny yourself pleasure. You're going to miss this team, and you're going to regret your bitterness. But Hobo86 does not agree with me. He says, dude, whenever someone calls me dude, I perk up. Dude, to be honest, I don't think anyone cares about the results of the game. We care about the team. I understand that, and I do understand that when I recap some of the games, I mean, it's part of what am I going to do? We're going to talk about the A's every day. I'm going to talk about the game they just played. It can't all just me being Eeyore. It's not like we want them to lose, but how are we supposed to love this team? How are we supposed to go to the games? I mean, for one more reverse boycott game, one last party where we pack the stadium. Last year's boycott was incredible. Let's do it again. All right, fine. I will never tell anyone how to enjoy their life or anything like that. I can give my suggestions what I think you should do. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I think Hobo does have a point. It's like it's tough to embrace something that you know is going away. And that's where some of the bitterness comes around. And I get it. I get it. But I do like the fact that he is planning to, or he or she, I'm not sure what Hobo 86, how they identify themselves, but Hobo 86 is at least going to be going one more time. Um, uh, uh, Brand Tryan, sorry if I mispronounced it, 8478, makes an interesting point, which once again goes to where there is no organization and no planning done in this ridiculous move, potential move, supposed move to Las Vegas with the holdover in Sacramento. He writes, or the Brand Tryan 8478 writes, there is a glass building outside the River Cat Stadium that can reflect sun in the eyes of certain seat holders, and it's very annoying, but the parking, food, and field are very nice. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of problems that they haven't even occurred because it was not designed to be a major league stadium. But I always love it when there's something that when you go into the stadium, go like, did no one see this happening? I mean, the new stadium, Levi Stadium, where the 49ers play down in Santa Clara, just is filled with all sorts of, it's facing the wrong way. The sun hits you in the wrong time. Yeah. What are you going to do? Nothing I can do. Yee Wiz, Yeewhiz, makes a terrific point. I'm going to read their comment here. A's owner, meaning Fisher, must have dirty laundry on Major League Baseball for them to allow the owner to pull all these shenanigans. It's not only hurting A's fans, it's hurting Major League Baseball branding. On a similar note, no taxpayer should be funding stadiums these days. Can't believe that option is still part of the conversation. Yeah, I've been totally flummoxed about the that fact that this hasn't been shut down by the other owners. When you think about all the times that Finley tried to move the A's when they're in Kansas City, and moves to Dallas and moves to Atlanta, and an announced move to Louisville were all shot down, and it didn't get the approval. How did this one get the approval? The only thing I could think of, and I when Susan Locker was on, and by the way, I have an upcoming show where I have another part of that interview with Susan with Melissa Lockhart. I'm thinking I've combined Susan Slesser and Melissa Lockhart. Melissa Lockhart and I were on the show. Sorry. I said the only reason that they're allowing this to happen is because baseball wants to expand and get those expansion fees and make up for some of the lost money that was lost during COVID. That's the only reason I can think of why they're not putting up a stink that a team is going to be removed from their stadium, put into a minor league stadium. There's zero plan for a new ballpark that's been approved. We know the Tropicana is going to be knocked down, and chances are the company that owns the land around there wants to build something, but do they want to build a baseball stadium? Do they want to have something that's going to be empty most of the time? Vegas seems to be more interested in things that are going to be filled most of the time. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But the idea of public funding is insane. I mean, to me, the idea of public funding for the stadium itself is criminal. It's criminal. And I say that with no hyperbole. There's so many things public money should be spent on. It should be spent on things that are public. I'm not just saying this because I'm a public school teacher. It should be spent on paving roads. It should be spent on infrastructure. It should be spent on police and fire departments. It should be spent on public programs that are for the public. A Major League Baseball stadium is not a public entity. It's not a public park. I can't go to Dodger Stadium with a picnic basket and have my dog Eleanor run all over the place. Public money should be spent for public good. That's what it's there for. A public school, public education is something for all people. It's there. Send your kids to a public school, no matter who you are. The idea is, no matter who you are or what your income is, you'll get a quality education. That's the idea. And we need funding for that. I can't tell you how many times, as a certified public school teacher, special education teacher here in California, I get emails every hour on the hour, and I've probably got 3 since I've started this sentence, saying, do you want to teach in Nevada? because they have a teacher shortage. Do you know why they have a teacher shortage? Because they don't want to work? No, because they pay them poorly. They'll go other places where they'll do the same thing for a decent salary. I think I could probably get my dog Eleanor to be a teacher in Nevada because there's such a shortage there. And then turn around and say, like, spend hundreds of millions of dollars so you could have an empty A's stadium right across the street from the MGM Grand? If it's such a great deal, use private money. Use the public money for the infrastructure around it. I have no problem with that. If you want to build a train station, you want to build up the roads, you want to to fix the area up around there, that is public money for public good. But the nanosecond you spend it on even one popcorn stand, you're using public money for private use for billionaires. And that sucks. S-U-X. And then Randy Patrick says, I can hear the chants already. Okramagus. Okramagus. There you go. All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about the fact that this day, the 17th of April, 2024, is actually a little bit of a bittersweet anniversary for the Oakland A's in a season that has no short of bittersweet moments. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and baseball is in full swing. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in one app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, quick reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local extras of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. So today, the 17th day of April 2024, is an anniversary for two different events, and they both involve the Oakland Coliseum. On this day in 1968, the A's played their first ever game at the Coliseum. It was their first year in being in Oakland after moving there from Kansas City, and the A's had been rumored to move anywhere in creation, but they landed finally in Oakland because Charlie O'Finley thought there was lots and lots of gold in them thar hills. In retrospect, a move to Seattle or a move to Dallas or a move to Atlanta or a move to San Diego might have been the smarter long-term deal. Or he could have waited a couple extra years when the Truman Athletic Complex was finally approved and the A's would still be in Kansas City. And I've mentioned the domino effect that would have happened if he had done that. It would have affected the existence of the Brewers, would have affected the existence of the Mariners. It would have affected Bay Area sports in general. It would have affected the existence of the Tampa Bay Rays. All these things would have been affected if Finley had stayed put in Kansas City. It would have affected, we may have no Major League Baseball in Oakland, but Major League Baseball in Buffalo. It's all a strange web of the alternate universe. But they picked Oakland. And that first day, they had a big crowd, and the first pitch was thrown out by then Governor Ronald Reagan, and the A's lost to Baltimore. But thus began the A's adventure in Oakland, and they spent more time in Oakland than they did in Philadelphia, which is strange when you stop and think about the long, rich history of the Philadelphia A's. But you know what? That's the case. On this day in 1968, the first game was played. Now, there's another bittersweet memory that on this day in 1979, the A's had been strip mined. The championships, the division titles from 71 to 75 were long since gone. They were competitive in 76, but by 77, the team was gone. absolutely destroyed. 77 and 78, they stunk with no hope in sight. And in 79, on this day in early April, 653 fans showed up. 653. That's a crap crowd for a San Jose Giants game. 653. My goal, I'd like to see at least 653 views of this video. That would mean that more people would watch me talk about that game than we're sitting in there. By the way, if you were one of the people of those 653 to be at that game, I want you to tell me. I want someone here to say, yes, I was indeed there, because that's mind-boggling. And, when you think about the terrible crowds, or I got to rephrase that, the small crowds that we're going to see in Oakland, just think about that one. The reason why I say let's not call them terrible crowds, because the people who actually showed up, you know what? They are people who you think, they truly love their team. But I want to tell you something about that game on April 17, 1979, when only 653 fans showed up to see the A's play the Mariners in a night game. The starting pitcher was John Henry Johnson, pitcher for the A's. Do any of these names ring a bell? You've got Miguel Delone, Joe Wallace, Mitchell Page was a good player, Dave Revering, Dwayne Murphy was a good player, Wayne Gross, Jeff Newman, Jeff Essien, Mike Edwards, and Ron Picciolo. And they went up against Odell Jones and the Seattle Mariners. And those 653 fans saw the A's jump out to a 5-0 lead, thanks to an RBI single by Jeff Newman and an error that allowed Mike Edwards to reach. But alas, these were the 1979 A's. And the A's allowed the Mariners to come storming back. Bruce Bochy, not Bruce Bochy, Bruce Bochy, got a base hit, and then the tying run with Willie Horton, beloved Tiger legend Willie Horton at the plate. A pass ball allowed the tying run to score. In the bottom of the ninth, with Odell Jones still pitching for the Mariners, the A's rallied. Wallace doubled and sacrificed him to third. And with 2 outs, Jim Essien got a base hit to left field. The A's won on a walk-off. And that's the lesson here. What is remembered on this day in baseball history is that only 653 people were at the game. But what I want to emphasize is those 653 people saw a fun game and saw a walk-off. Now, I don't think Celebration by Kool and the Gang had come out at that point. I might be wrong. I'm not a Kool and the Gang expert. But if you bumped into one of those 653 people who were at that game, do you know what? If you asked them, how was it? Do you know what they would have said? It was great. Or they might have said, right on, or something that they would say in the late 70s. So I'm going to continue to pinch hit here, and I hope you've been enjoying. So follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, or whatever it's called now, or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, and be sure to check out new episodes of Locked On MLB. Talking about the A's, their victories in front of small crowds today and in the past. This has been Locked On A's for the 17th day of April, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.